Hey guys, I'm here with a close personal friend of mine. His name is Fabrice. He is a crested gecko and he's extremely cute. He also lives in a bioactive vivarium. And I want to just give you a quick tour of his setup because I think it's really phenomenal. I think it is the gold standard of what a crested gecko setup should be. So let's get to it. Alright gang, check this out. This is pretty cool. This is a DIY bioactive front opening Exoterra vivarium. I want to call it 2.5 feet by 1.5 feet. This is a setup for a crested gecko. It's loads of space for a crested gecko. Honestly, if somebody asked me what would be the ideal crested gecko setup, I would send you a picture of this thing. Some people will say you can get away with a lot less, and that's absolutely true. But when it looks this good, why not give them the best? We have a very functional drainage layer here. You can see clay balls, probably $30 worth. And then there's a layer of screen mesh to keep the dirt from getting into the clay ball drainage layer, but we do have organic potting soil mixed with cocoa fiber. That makes our top layer. It's bioactive with springtails and isopods. I can't see any right now, but they are rampant in here. They eat this leaf litter and any other waste that the gecko might create. The plants are all terrarium safe, animal safe, and they weren't too expensive at all. They're all alive. There's nothing in here that's plastic. But yeah, we got a beautiful piece of driftwood for climbing, which is where the gecko, whose name is Fabrice, spends a lot of his time. Lots of hiding places, lots of climbing places. Naturalistic look. You can even see there are actual plant pots that are built into the background that can be pulled in and out, which is really cool and makes it easy to grow things directly on the back panel here. Let's talk about the top. So it's a crested gecko. They have some of the simplest requirements of any lizard. They don't particularly need heat above room temperature. They don't need UVB, so your light is really just about providing daylight for them because they are still an animal that needs a day-night light cycle. My top screen here has been damaged or melted at various points, and it's ugly, but I do highly recommend dental floss as a way to repair screens back to their frames, because that stuff is just super strong. There's a lot of tensile strength. Got a little more going on over here. Pretty overdone, pretty redundant, but that's what you want because I don't want any more trouble. The trouble began from having the weight of the light fixture on the screen. Learned my lesson there, and I added this bit of steel caging so that there's no actual weight on the screen. Also gives me just a few centimeters of clearance between the hot light and the screen so that the gecko doesn't get too close. We have, of course, a thermometer and hygrometer, but we do check with a temp gun regularly, which is a product I highly recommend for anybody keeping reptiles. Really happy with how this turned out, and this is, in my mind, in my humble opinion, the best crested gecko setup you could have. You could go bigger than this, but there's not really any point. They're gonna utilize all of this space, and to go any smaller, you could get away with it, but this is really just the sweet spot when it comes to having a single cresty. This is like a paradise. When your setup looks like this, you don't have anything to feel guilty about. It's a good feeling, and you know your animal is happy and healthy. Water and spray down the plants and the lizard, but not a whole lot because the humidity holds in the water table that we've created here, and it doesn't mold up because it's actually separate from the dirt and the vegetation and everything else. We've put, I want to say at most a few hours of work into this thing, and the results are pretty phenomenal. What's hype about this is I actually got it for free off of somebody on Kijiji, which is the Canadian Craigslist kind of thing. Somebody had a boa constrictor in here. It was a baby boa constrictor. I'm sure it was really cool when it was just a hatchling, but it was getting too big, and instead of trying to, what most people would do, sell the animal and the vivarium separately, he gave away, I think because he felt guilty, he gave away the boa and the vivarium for free. All I had to do was go way out of my way to pick it up and then take an expensive Uber to bring it back here. But yeah, I got it for free. Everything from the light to the BioBall substrate to some of the plants that are still in here today. We've just reworked it, but essentially this tank or this vivarium on its own would cost you over $200, and then there was the driftwood, the cork bark, BioBalls, another $100 worth of stuff at least, especially if we include the light fixture. So it was a big haul, and the snake, of course, I put in a more appropriate setup, and that's a whole different story. Hey guys, I'm gonna hand the torch to Chrissy for a minute here. She is the real designer of this tank and the financer of this tank, so all credit goes to her. And she knows a little bit more than I do about the species of plants that are in here, so let's hear what she has to say.
So these two are the prayer plants that I have. I divided them from one pot, so a couple bucks saved there. We have some Transylvaria.
Which one's Transylvaria?
It's the Wandering Dude.
Wandering Dude, it's called traditionally, yeah?
Here, this is Fittonia, or also known as the nerve plant.
Oh, that's a fitting name.
Yeah. And then this here is actually a form of Dracaena. I don't remember specifically one, but that is its Latin name.
So it's not a bromeliad?
No, this is Dracaena.
Interesting, they look very similar. Okay.
Bromeliads die off. This guy lives forever. This is parlor palm. This one here is the crinkle leaf fern. And then we got the snake plants in the back, also known as Sansevieria. And this is the only one that I don't know, but I'm fairly sure from its spots on its leaf that it's a part of Kratom. And then, of course, I didn't mention it, but the obvious one is the pothos, which is the most popular vivarium plant. It's impossible to kill, devil's ivy. You grow them in water, grow them in soil, grow them anywhere. They can't get rid of them, so they're always a really good vivarium plant. So those are the plants that are currently growing in there. Hopefully they'll fill out. Right now they're just taking root.
So I hope you enjoyed the tour and maybe learned a thing or two about how you might best care for your own crested gecko, or how you might customize your own bioactive vivarium setup. If you like this video, like, subscribe, shoot me a comment. This has been another episode of Hoi Noi TV. I'm your boy, Hoi Noi, staying crispy, keeping it real, surviving the coronavirus pandemic one day at a time, just like the rest of you, but I got these little cold-blooded homies keep me company. So we'll see you on the next one. It's already in the works. Hang on to your little gonads until that time. Thank you very much for participating. Keep it real. Hey yo, Fabrice says defund the police. He just wants to climb on your shirt and have peace. He loves his family and eats a lot of fruit. He's not about licking the boot.